Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Lamide and I'm the host of Adulting is the Ghetto.
The future is now. The future is now. The future is now.
And we're back with a new season 4, and I'm starting off with a bang with a very special guest.
Hi, my name is Rhieme.
Okay, amazing. And thank you for joining me
Thank
or
you for
us
having
today.
me.
So Rhieme is my big little sis as well, I'll call her, because I didn't realize that she was this tall until I actually met her in person. I was just like, you're a bit tall, aren't you?
Everyone says that.
And yeah, so Rhieme, can you just start by introducing yourself? Who are you? And introduce yourself.
Hi guys, so I'm Rhieme. I'm a law student. This question is usually hard for me, but I would say I'm a lover. So I love the people around me. I love gathering people as well. And yeah, that's about it.
She's so modest because Rhime's biography and CV is extensive. That's why when I first met her and I realized you only turned up 21 like a couple weeks ago, I was just like, how? Because this woman I should say is not, she says she's a lover. She's very good at gathering people. She's like a staple in the community is the best way to describe it. Like, she's just a good community builder. So she started something called Uncovered Conversations, which we're going to get into, and through that she's just been able to build a solid community is what I would say. But not even just with Uncovered, like you write as well, so you you have different series that can help people build like their confidence and do many other things. Before we get more into you, we're gonna do like a small icebreaker just to break the ice a little bit, make you more comfortable, and then get to know you in your true element. Are you competitive?
Not really.
Not really. I am, but I'll let you in today.
Okay.
Okay, so the first one we're going to do is concentration.
Okay.
Do you know how it works?
No.
So it's like concentration, names, and then there's a categories. So we're going to do names, and then we're going to do like places or like cities. So we'll start with names. So concentration, names. Abigail.
Anna.
Bimpe.
Cynthia.
Beatrice.
Delilah.
So you need to be a bit quicker with that. But do you get it?
Yeah.
Okay, should we do names again? Should we move to cities? Names. Okay. Concentration, names. Fola.
Bimpe.
Faishayo.
Tenny.
Tolua.
Moyin.
Tilash.
Demi.
Are you just saying names of people you know? Are you just saying names of your friends?
How did you know?
100%.
Oh my God.
100%. Okay. Let's do a few cities and then we'll get right into it, because I think we're warming you up. I'm really seeing your personality. just saying the names of her friends. Okay, concentrations, names of cities. Lagos.
London.
Abuja.
New York.
San Francisco. The thing is, you threw me off when you went to America, so I was like, okay, let me stay in America as well. But I was like, that wasn't my plan. My initial plan was to stay within within Africa or something, and then you was like New York. I was like, oh yeah. But no, that's good. I think the ice has been broken. What do you think?
Yeah.
This series and Adulting is the Ghetto is trying to get other people to come on board to share their adulting journey and their experiences. And today I just want to talk about the importance of starting early. So like I said, Rhieme is 21, but she's been able to do what I think is quite a lot. And I think it's because of the habits and the mindset that she's built from an earlier age that's helped her to where she is today. So yeah, can you just describe your adulting journey? Let's say in one word, and then maybe expand on that word. Stretching, okay.
Yeah. I feel like over time I've realized the importance of being very intentional from young, and it wasn't always that way. So I wouldn't say I've been very determined, driven. I think those are things that developed over time when I saw the importance of how I needed to start now. to get to where I want to be. So it's been stretching because I've had to go out of my comfort zone. I've had to do things that think about things in a way that I didn't before. So for example, like last year was when I started taking my finances seriously and started taking into account like budgeting and all of that. And that, for me, that was a huge part of adulting, because before, like, it's not like in school anyone taught us those things and they were like, yes, it's good for you to plan ahead. So it's been stretching because I've had to be more responsible. I've had to think a bit faster than maybe other people would. So for example, with career wise, with law, they always say if you want to work in the UK, you should start thinking about that first year.
Yeah.
So most people probably started thinking about that towards the end of second year or even third year. But that's something that had been at the back of my mind from the get-go. So yeah, it's been very stretching because I've had to go out of my comfort zone a lot. And I think also because before so growing up, like, I've never been a shy person. I've always been like, I love meeting new people and just getting to know people that I wouldn't see like on a regular basis. But I felt like over time, I basically became like a shadow of myself. So I became like shy and more reserved and all of that. But I feel like adulting has pushed me out of that. It's definitely pushed me forward and made me be more outgoing and, you know, like stretching myself essentially. And I think this year was probably my most stretching year yet. I served in a different capacity. I started writing on confidence, and I wasn't doing that before, but I realized that it's an area that I am actually very passionate about, and I love writing. So yeah, it's been very stretching. I've found myself in like situations or like opportunities that I wouldn't have thought of.
It's really good. Stretching, that's a good word. Because you kind of mentioned that growing up, you've always been kind of like outgoing, and then at one point you weren't really. But what would you say about like your childhood or upbringing has really had an impact on who you are today?
I think being in the right environment. So I had a great childhood. Like, my parents are actually amazing because I feel like they set the scene properly for me to be nurtured holistically. So my mom would always encourage my brother and I to go for like swimming lessons, then music lessons, or public speaking classes, like all those things. So I felt like all of those little activities were them like sowing seeds in different ways and showing me what it actually looks like to live life in a wholesome way. So I would say having the right environment and having the right support systems. I've also tried my best to be intentional about the people I surround myself with. And from childhood, that was something my mom and dad always emphasized, like just having the right company and all. I've always had the space to be expressive, to try new things. And I also feel like my parents just don't say no in terms of going for things. So they're the ones that are like, sure, like, do this. So for example, I hosted an event earlier on this year.
It was great. I was sad I couldn't be there in person, but I was so proud.
I wish you were there. And it was scary because like I had never, it's not like I had a huge vision board and I was like, by this age I must have done XYZ. A lot of the things I even find myself doing, it just flows from me saying yes to God. So I feel like God is saying, do this next, so I do it next. It's not like I have like a big board and it's like a checkbox sort of thing. My parents from the get-go, they encourage me to aspire for whatever it is I want to do, as long as it's aligned with what God has in store for me. I remember speaking to my dad about it and just telling him what I wanted to do, and they were like, sure, like, go for it. And I was like, wow. And bear in mind, like, I didn't have any, what's the word, like sponsorships or partnerships with brands and things like that. So them just being able to support me in that way has really gone like a long way.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think that like the permission to just dream as well is something that I know from my family as well. It makes a difference. Like when you're like, oh, I think I want to do this, and they were like, yeah, that makes sense, and you're like, oh, okay, and then you just like run with it. But if the reaction of like, why do you want to do that, the way it may affect you may be different to what you even thought, because unknowingly you do care what they think and you do want to like to do something that they would be proud of or want, that they would like. So I definitely, the right environment is very important, and you don't realize it until you're like much older as well. So you mentioned Uncovered Conversation and the physical event you did, but I know even before the physical event you did something like the financial freedom workshop, and then you did something about talking more about businesses, entering into the world of business. So can you just speak to me more about Uncovered Conversations? What is it? Why did you start it? Why did you think you needed to be the person to start it as well? And how has that helped with like your adulting journey, and where do you see it going essentially?
Okay, so what is Uncovered Conversations? It's a platform dedicated to young people, young leaders and pioneers who want to essentially pursue vision for themselves. So I see vision as where you're going in any way. So for someone, their vision could be building a business. For another person, it could be becoming a public speaker. So the whole point of the platform is to give you the right tools that you need, or you feel like you may need, for wherever it is that you believe you're going. So it was I would say it was unexpected, but it wasn't when I started it. So I'd always wanted to start a platform for young people, just being that person to push them forward, because I grew up there were different women that I looked up to, and they were always looking for different ways to lend their voices and help other people, and I wanted to do something like that, but more targeted to people my age and younger. It started in 2021. In May 2021. I didn't intend for it to start. So basically I used to work with a financial literacy platform called Money Africa, and they basically gave us a task of promoting a student plan basically regarding your finances and like learning how to manage them well. So the task was to let people know about it and just get people to sign up for it. And for me, I didn't feel comfortable just like going on social media every day and being like, guys, sign up, like all of that. Anyways, cut the long story short, that was when I started the blog. So it started off by me just interviewing different guests on how they manage their finances and what tips they have to share, and all of that was to encourage or start off conversations around that to get people to sign up for the plan. Right. But as time went on, I realized that it was much bigger than just that. And I also thought back at how earlier on I just had it laid on my heart to start a platform for young people. So I put 2 and 2 together, and I was like, this is basically it. And I didn't realize. So that's why I said I didn't intend for it. It literally just started from me looking for like a new way of promoting a plan to people.
One thing I really like about Uncovered Conversation, and just like the way you've gone about it, is the intentionality within the community. So as like a young person, can you speak to me more about, I say young person as if I'm old, but as like with young people, I feel like we're not very intentional about community building. Why do you think we should be intentional? Why do you think it's important? And how can one actually go from not being being unintentional to building community? And even you yourself you weren't necessarily intentional about starting the platform, but now you've had to be. So how do you go from that process of unintentionality to being very purposeful, intentional, and like focused and driven about building such a thing?
I think it starts from realizing what you're carrying and what you have like within you. So in terms of being intentional about building the community and the platform, it's because I began to recognize that this wasn't just me doing just another thing, or it wasn't for fun. I realized that this is in line with my calling and what God has in store for me. So when I realized that, firstly, I'm doing this for God, right? I'm doing this in obedience to Him. I can't just do what I want to do. So I remember last year, like I had to put out episodes every single week from May to like December.
That was me for the whole year, from Feb 2020 to Feb 2021. I understand it's a lot.
It's a lot. But I realized at that point in time that so much was being built like within me, like resilience, consistency, all of that. So I would say I've had to do that, recognizing what I have within me and knowing that if I'm faithful with the little and I'm consistent with what I have in my hands, it will multiply. And I would also give it room to grow into what it is that like God has in store for it. So that's on that side. And I think generally being intentional about having community around you is so key, because I don't think these things just fall in our laps. Like you have to take those steps to put in place what you want to see in your life. So for example, I want to have very purposeful and meaningful relationships. That's not going to happen if I just speak to my friends like maybe just once a month, right? All the time. Yes, there's seasons where like there might not be space for that much communication, but I recognize that anything I want to bear fruit has to constantly be nurtured in all areas of my life. So that's why I feel like being intentional is very important, because it's the only way to see fruit in your life. And it's like if you nurture something once in a while, there's only so far it would go. So,
that's really good. And it's like the consistency about it, and you might not see the fruits of it when you're just watering, like you said, once a month, but you're more likely to see the fruits quicker, and just even greater fruits when you do it more consistently. And no, that's really, really good. And I guess like just more on that, and just like with navigating adulthood and firstly, how has adulthood been? I know it's been stretching, but now I feel like you just turned 21, so you're kind of entering a new chapter of your adulting journey. How do you find it? Do you have any tips that you wish to share, and do you also have any questions that you might want to know about to help you navigate it better?
Okay, I'll start with my question.
Okay.
How do you deal with the switch from 1 minute you're in uni and you're working, like focusing on deadlines, to next minute where you're going to work, career wise and all? Because I know a few people that are quite nervous about the whole process, and there are times I get nervous about it too, because it's like the first time where your next steps are not being dictated to you, so it's a bit, so that's my question.
Really good question. Very, very good question. I think for that is realizing that now nothing is set in stone and everybody's journey is different. So there are people who've had their jobs secure since second year of university, and there's some people that it may take them a year out of university to know what their next steps are. But it's believing that like your own time is your own time, and not comparing. Like comparison is truly the thief of joy. Like you can't even compare yourself that, but we both graduated at the same time. I might have even got a first, you might even go to, well, why do you have a job in this field and you came out of uni, you're earning like 50k, I've come out of uni, I'm struggling to get 21k type jobs. So, I think it's just knowing that your time is your time, and also realizing that this is your life. Like, yes, we all went to school, we all went to sixth form, we all went to university, or whatever journey you chose to do, because some people as well might have chosen to do like an apprenticeship, so they might have realized that earlier, that everybody's path is different. But I think once you finish university, that's when you really realize that this is your life to make the way you want it to be. If you want to move to another country tomorrow, you can. And that's what will be the case. You'll see some friends moving to, let's say, Dubai or whatever to work, because everyone wants to do something different, but you actually have to decide, what do I want for myself? How do I want to live my life? Because there's some people, you may think, because they are buying cars now and buying houses, you too must do that. But that's not, you don't care about that. That's not aligned with your purpose. That's not aligned with your goals. But it may be difficult for you to navigate what you want to do where you're comparing yourself to other people. So definitely don't compare yourself. Definitely realize that your time is your time, and also be very clear about what you want out of your own life. So when I left, I was like, because I've been working throughout university to an extent, getting like work experience, volunteering, I knew that my CV was good enough to get me, let's say, like a 25+k job. But people were like, you literally just turned 21, who do you think you are? You didn't even go to a Russell Group University type of thing, who do you think you are? I said, okay, sounds like a personal problem, it's not you who's going to be working, it's me who's going to be working.
Yeah.
So at least let me do the job I want to do and I want to be paid for. And that's another thing. Even when applying for jobs, apply for only jobs you want to do, is what I say, because you would hate to do that job at one point, but at least you know it, oh, but I'm getting paid well, or but I like these people, So yeah, just be very clear about what you want out of your life, and also just be patient with yourself. Grant yourself grace. You haven't been on this part of life before. Someone said to me yesterday that what got you this far is not going to get you to the next level. So also be willing to stretch yourself, be willing to like grow, and be willing to be uncomfortable as well. That's what I would say.
I love that. Thank you.
No problem, my pleasure. And now your turn. What do you think, like, in terms of tips? So firstly, for people that are just like still going to university, still like finishing through, and like even navigating, let's say, first year to second year, and also those that are looking to like start something but they don't know how to. And then lastly, for those like just generally in terms of like they want to be more intentional about the adulting journey but they don't know how to be, how, like, what tips and advice do you have for them?
I think first of all, have time for yourself to actually think. So something I feel like a lot of people struggle with and they don't realize is people are always on the go. So it's like you being able to take time out and have time to think, have time to reassess yourself, like where do you see yourself going next and how do you intend to get there. People aren't very intentional about that generally. And so I would say having time to think, firstly, like having time to understand your strengths and your weaknesses and yourself as a person is the starting point, because I think everything would flow from that. And then the second question was
just general tips. So from those, so you said have time to think, but like let's say those who want to build something as well.
I think starting with what you have. So for anyone who wants to start something, actually looking at your hands and being like, what is there that I can create? So for example, you may not know, but you're actually a very good speaker. That could look like you using that gift and starting a channel if you feel like that's what is for you. We tend to focus too much on what other people are doing rather than looking within ourselves and being like, what do I have to offer? What do I have to bring to the table as well? Because everyone does have something to bring. And that's why I said having that time to sit down with yourself and be like, okay, if I want to maybe start a business, for example, why do I want to start the business? What problem am I trying to solve? And how am I going to deliver whatever it is I want to bring in a new way? Because I noticed that people gravitate towards things that are actually solving problems. And if you're entering a space where you feel like it's oversaturated, firstly, I don't think that's true, because there's always space for you if that's the place for you to be. I think there's a huge difference between quality versus perfection. Because sometimes people don't start because they're like, oh, but I don't have everything I have and all of that. But I think it's just also not despising like your humble beginnings and being like, this is where I want to go and this is where I currently am. Let's start with what we have right now. Yes, for those in first and second year of uni, because I know from second year is when a lot, even from first year really, there's so much talk about your career. I think have the time to think about what you actually see for yourself. And for those who are like people of faith, so we're both Christian, and we always, like it's always said, sit down with God first and let him tell you the plans that he has for you. I feel like that's like the most secure place, but obviously there's room for you taking practical steps as well. So if it looks like career opportunities, have a look at what you feel like you're interested in. Maybe go for open days. I know there are companies that do that.
Like, even if it's virtual as well.
Even if it's virtual. And just see, like, volunteer somewhere. Try out, give yourself space to be expressive and try out different things, because sometimes it's fear that holds people back from actually trying to put themselves out there.
You have nothing to lose.
You have nothing to lose.
But a lot to gain, if not everything.
And I think the more you put yourself out there, the more you actually see who you really are, outside of fear and worry and like, would you ask like a silly question and things like that. So yes, and I'll say it's like life is an adventure. You don't need to know every single thing. I'm here and I'm like, I don't know everything that is to come, but what I've focused on is how far God has brought me, and how, if I can see how far He's brought me, then I can see a glimpse into what is next
in the future.
Yeah.
Thank you. This has been so good. I could ask so many more questions, but we'll probably save you to come another time to speak about another conversation and another topic. But thank you very much. Do you have any final words?
I'll say keep going. Wherever you find yourself, keep going and trust that everything is actually working together for your good. I feel like people, especially with how things are in the world right now, there's a lot of uncertainty, and every day you hear something new. But I think one of the best things I've done is personally to like zone out from the noise and just trust that everything is working together for my good. And wherever you find yourself, even if you're in a very dark space and you don't know how everything will turn out, there's so much power in seeing beyond your circumstances and trusting that better will come.
So good. Thank you once again, Rhieme, for joining us. Would you like to do the pleasure of signing out?
Thank you again, guys, for watching this episode of Adulting is the Ghetto, and hopefully I'll see you guys soon.
Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And I'm going to put Rhime's details everywhere. And you make sure you follow Uncovered Conversations as well. And yes, we'll see you on the next one. And we have so many more guests in store for you. And I'm so excited to see where this season and series goes. Bye.